Manga.
At the time when the first company I joined as a new graduate was too corrupt, I was still new to society and didn't know left from right. But my senior who entered the workforce before me, "My company is so corrupt it's crazy," and I heard him complaining about it. So I joined the company with a lot of anxiety about what it would be like. But the company I joined was so awful that it didn't even compare to what my senior told me. Normally, when an employee or a new graduate joins a company, there would be an explanation at the start, but that didn't happen. "Hey, go make some sales," he said to me. I didn't know how to do sales at all, so, "What? Could you come and give me some guidance, at least once?" "Huh? Do it on your own. There's the internet nowadays, so just Google it or something," and left me in the dark. Even if you try to make sales like that, yeah, we're good, I was basically turned away at the door. Every day in the evening, my company would announce the results, but this was more painful than anything else, because I couldn't get a single contract. And yet, "You have no talent. Hurry up and win some contracts. You're useless," my senior yells at me every day. And because I wasn't able to get results, "You can't get contracts, so at least do some miscellaneous work." I was forced to do all my senior's miscellaneous work. I was going home on the last train every day, while my seniors went home on time, and my body and mind were in shambles. Since the company was like that, one by one, the new recruits disappeared with each passing month. At a meeting, the day after someone quit, we had to listen forever to rants against the fellow who quit, such as, "We don't want any slackers." After that, the number of new graduates kept decreasing, and the cost of all those who quit fell on me. When I was in an unstable state of mind and talked to another employee during a break, "Stop slacking!" and getting kicked was a common occurrence. I'd go home, take off my pants, and I'd have bruises all over my thighs. Then one day, as I was getting yelled at as usual, I knew something was wrong with my body. And when I checked in the bathroom, I had urticaria, to the point that my body was swollen. It was as if my body was telling me that it was at its limit. The urticaria was already so itchy that I couldn't stand it, and wanted to leave right now. But a senior noticed me not coming out of the bathroom and, "Hey, get out of there and do your job. Your work's piling up," and kicked the door. I fought the itch desperately and kept working. And then, as I was leaving, "Oh, I forgot to do this. Make sure you get this done by tomorrow morning. If you don't do it, you know what's going to happen, right?" And left after saying that. It wasn't a job for a new graduate like me, and most of the things had never been taught to me, which made me tear up. I don't know why I'm in this mess. It itches and I want to run away. But if I run, I'll be miserable again. My thoughts were screaming. I finished what I could and went home. The journey home was truly hellish, and when I got home, I collapsed at the front door. My mother, who was sleeping at the time, woke up from the noise and was startled by my condition, and immediately took me to the emergency room. When I showed it to the doctor, "This is bad. You're about to go crazy, aren't you?" And they gave me steroids and stuff. The urticaria disappeared after I was given a shot of medicine, but on the car ride home, I blurted out, "I'm at my limit."
You're still young. You can manage, even if you quit.
I was relieved, but at the same time, my gut was churning. But I can't let them get away with this, and bit my back teeth. I decided to take revenge, and the first thing I did was talk to my colleagues who quit. According to my former colleague, as soon as they decided to quit, the company made them leave on the same day, telling them they wouldn't pay them, and that month he actually didn't get paid. And the senior, "I'm a former artist. I don't know what'll happen if you cause a commotion," and apparently threatened him. I heard about this and decided to talk to an old friend of mine. Since I rarely invite people out, my friend was happy that day and said, "It's been a while." But then he saw my face and noticed something was wrong. "Something bothering you?" He made it easy for me to talk, and I told him everything that happened over drinks with my friend. And my friend said, "So when are you quitting?" To which I replied, "Today." He said, "Okay," and walked out. The next day, I opened Skype on my iPad Touch in the morning, went straight to work. When I came to work, around the time when everyone had all gathered, my senior, "Hey, you finished the work I told you to do, right?" he said. "No, I didn't do it because I can't do what I'm not taught. I mean, I can't keep up with this company, so I'm quitting." After saying that, my senior grinned and said, "I'll see. I'll go call my superiors." And after a while, the bosses and executives came over. And then the discussion began. Senior, seemingly disappointed. "It's a shame you're quitting, after all the time and effort I put into teaching you." He said that, but I ignored it. And the boss, "Maybe this company was too much for a new hire like you. Well, that's okay. This month's paycheck is past due, but I don't have it, so you can just go home," he said. "What? Please pay me." No, they say it's an ill bird that fouls its own nest, right?" "What? Are you kidding me?" When I snapped, he kicked the desk and grabbed me by the chest. "Hey, do you know what happens when you screw with people? Don't get cocky. I dare you." Then the idiot senior. "You know he's got my back, huh? I don't care if you cry later." He smiles wanly. Then bring them here, right now." "Are you serious?" Senior bursts out laughing. At that moment, a tremendous blaring military song rang out from the front of the company. Everyone in the conference room except me looks aghast. We're on the same playing field. Come on, bring him out. In fact, in front of the company was a vacant lot, where several black right-wing streetcars were parked. Ahead there is my friend. "They have the right wing protecting him, right? Then they better talk to me. I'll take care of it." And took it on. My friend was in the car listening to the Skype call, and he just told me that if they threatened me, he would threaten them back, in the midst of echoing military music. "Where's your support, senior?" My friend said it would be easier to solve the problem if the right-wingers talked to each other. When I told the senior, and the boss's face turned pale in a panic. "You weren't bluffing about who has your back, right?" His eyes kept swimming. "All right, let's start over, shall we?" The senior and the boss shook their head vigorously when I told them. The conversation from there on went smoothly, and the company said they'd pay me the money promptly. In closing, next time you should take better care of your new employees. Otherwise, you never know when you'll end up like this. Oh, and seniors should be careful not to joke about having someone behind your back, or you might get yourself in a lot of pain. Later, I invited my friend again for a drink, after I got him into such a petty matter. "I'm really glad you helped me. I'm sorry about getting you involved." No, I had a good time. And my guys are excited too." And my friend laughed it off. This time, I happened to be saved by a friend. But some people aren't able to escape from this pain. Corrupt companies are not going to disappear from the world. But I hope those people have someone they can rely on in times of need. Just like me. One day, my wife Yomiko got mad and left the house. It's her fault though. I was just tired of how selfish she was acting, so I just lost it. This isn't the first time she left the house. She doesn't seem to like admitting that she's wrong, ever, and started throwing temper tantrums and leaving the house. That's why every time she left, I just thought, here we go again, and left it alone. But then, some random woman I've never seen before showed up.
You're Tano, right?
Yeah?
I'm Yomiko's best friend, Ako.
Eiko said that, and said that Yomiko was at her house bawling, writing up a divorce paper. Apparently, Eiko was the one that spurred it on. I was so caught off guard that, do you even know why she left the house to begin with?
Of course. You said something terrible, right? I know she yelled at you.
She's the one that was in the wrong. She's a stay-at-home housewife, but she doesn't take care of the house and goes out all the time. She comes home late at night, and while she's out, you can't get in touch with her.
Housewives have stress too. You need to hold it in.
Okay, I can do that sometimes, but it's every day. I'm tired with work every day, but she goes out, plays, come homes late without taking care of the house.
You're seriously such a small man. Men should do things around the house now too, you know. There's nothing weird about that.
I mean, I won't say that it's a woman's job, but Yomiko doesn't work. She can at least do the chores, right?
Oh my gosh! You're so annoying.
I mean, that's not even why I got mad. She stole my money from our savings account, and I kept telling her stop, but she wouldn't listen, so I told her to cut it out.
That's still not enough to get mad at her. You're a small man.
No. You realize that if you pull out too much money and you can't pay rent, you're screwed, right? And she's using that for leisure.
She's saying that she borrowed a little bit because she was struggling this month. You're married to her and you can't tell how she's feeling? You're the worst.
What? Am I the bad one here? And you realize she didn't just borrow a little, right? What exactly is she doing with an entire rent's worth of money? She just wouldn't let up, and is apparently pushing Eiko to sign the divorce papers now too. If Yomiko comes over again, she's going to take it herself, apparently. Take better care of her, huh? Yeah. Kiss my ass. She wouldn't listen, so I just closed the door and asked her to leave. Yomiko came home the next day. According to Eiko, she was crying and bawling writing the papers, but there's no messy makeup and no signs that she was crying. If anything, she reeked of booze and was in a good mood. She showed the divorce papers to me condescendingly.
Look, if you don't want me to take these to the office, you better obey me.
She changed and ran out again. Of course, she didn't intend to give back the money she withdrew. I had completely detached from her. Afterwards, I thought that I'd really punish her and quietly got ready for the next few days. Of course, her behaviour escalated. She never did the chores, but she would come back when she got tired of playing and wanted to sleep. Every time she came back, she'd buy more clothes, more accessories. The place we lived in was a pretty good place, and I had a habit of leaving a pretty hefty amount of money, almost all of my bonus in my account, so I wouldn't forget to pay rent. Then she pulled that money out, so I'm sure she's got a lot of money. But that ends today.
If there isn't any money left in the account, I can't withdraw any, can I? Just borrow some money and hand it over.
Shut up. Why do I have to give you money so you can go play somewhere?
What? Are you sure you should be talking to me like that? I think I'm gonna put up the divorce papers in. Are you sure you want that?
If you can, then go for it.
What is that attitude? You must have ripped it up and thrown the papers out, huh? You idiot. I'll just go buy another one and write it up.
No, I already submitted the papers. They're not here.
What? What do you mean you already submitted them?
You stupid. The divorce papers. I signed them the day after you handed them to me and submitted them. I don't want to live with you anymore.
What? What's going on?
Just as she exclaimed that, the doorbell rang. When she answered the door, she was surprised at who was on the other side of the door.
Why are you here, Dad? Mom?
Not why. I heard everything from Teneo. You're still connected to Ao, huh?
Huh? How did you know that?
I made sure to investigate everything while I let you play. Then lo and behold, I see you coming out of Eiko's house with Ao. And I showed your parents the photo. Turns out they knew who it was. That Eiko girl also knew about everything and was helping you out, right? You don't remember how much you poured into him before? I was so glad to hear you got married to Teneo, because you'd be away from him, but you're still with him.
He just said he wanted to meet me.
He said he wanted to see you, so you went to a hotel. I know about that too.
That's...
You've been pulling money out for a while now, giving him money, right?
No, that was just for playing.
You really think that stupid excuse is gonna fly, you stupid child? I'm so sorry, Teneo. I know you guys got a divorce, but we'll be sure to repay you for everything. I'm so sorry. I know you took great care of my daughter. I'm so sorry.
Come on, Dad. Stop.
The father-in-law begged. The mother-in-law immediately slapped Yomiko flat across the face.
What are you saying? You're the reason your father is begging right now. You better understand what you've done. You're not related to Tano anymore, so you can't live here. We're going back to the countryside.
She heard her mother and realized that she had done something insane.
I'm I'm sorry.
She started crying. I don't really care if you cry. I already submitted the papers, just as you wanted. I have no reason to take any care of you. Oh, and you and Ao will both be paying me for damages. She looked disappointed and continued to cry. Afterwards, she went back to the middle of nowhere to live with her parents. I, of course, looked up more info about Ao, so I sent a bunch of proof of the affair to his home and work. Apparently, he was already married and even started working at his wife's parents' company. That's why after the affair was found out, he lost his status, his work, and his marriage. We also added a lawyer to the mix, and I ended up suing Aiko for helping things along. She also worked at Ao's wife's company, and surprise, surprise, she also had a relationship with Ao. I also went ahead and sent the photos that I got from the PI office to Ao's house, and Aiko was sued by Ao's wife as well. Serves you right. I got my money in damages and moved out of my apartment before Yomiko ran away from her parents' house and stormed my house. Figures. About a half a year later, my ex-wife came back to my ex-house and started banging on the door. I live a nice life now, with no problems, but I am so glad to have moved without thinking twice. That was close.
My name is Aki. I have a best friend named Lily who has been a close family friend of mine since I was little. She's what you would call a childhood friend. Lily's father is the president of a company, and he's very rich. In other words, Lily is a rich girl. So she's a little out of touch with the world in terms of money, and bad men who knew this often approach her to take advantage, and she was sometimes cheated. Soon after entering the workforce, Lily became pregnant. The other man seemed to run away as soon as he found out that Lily was pregnant, and when she couldn't get in touch with him, Lily came crying to me. She was already 8 months pregnant when she came to me for advice, and her parents, who were very strict, were furious about this and disowned Lily. I decided to do everything in my power to support Lily, who could no longer rely on anyone. And then 2 months later, Lily gave birth to a baby girl. The girl was named Mimi and grew up well. Lily also raised Mimi while working and became a great mother. I also helped her with things like picking up Mimi from daycare. At some point, I started getting more and more refusals saying that it was okay. I thought it was because Mimi was getting older, but it seems she actually got a new boyfriend. Her boyfriend, Kuraki, seemed very kind and sincere. In fact, they are already thinking about getting married, and when Lily went to talk to her parents, she was happy to hear that they gave her their blessing. Above all, I was so relieved to see Lily looking so happy. However, I was concerned that Mimi had been acting strangely for a little while now. Your new father seems kind. Does he play with you a lot? Mimi, what do you do for fun at kindergarten these days?
Origami. I can make cranes and stuff. I'll make one for you next time.
Thanks. I haven't been able to pick you up lately. Does your dad pick you up?
Yeah.
I was a little worried by the brusque reply whenever we talked about her dad, and then I saw a slight redness on her arm. I was married by then, and I had discussed Mimi's condition with my husband. My husband also adored Mimi, so he listened to me, sympathetically. Maybe it's just my imagination, but what if it isn't?
Yeah? Then how about this?
After discussing it with my husband, I decided to give Mimi a stuffed rabbit for Christmas this year, although not just a normal stuffed rabbit. As I had hoped, Mimi was so happy with it, and she took it everywhere she went. And finally, Lily's wedding day. Both Lily and Kuraki looked happy, but Mimi remained downcast. The ceremony proceeded smoothly, and then came the vows.
Do you swear to love, support, and walk with this one in sickness and in health?
Then suddenly, Mimi shouted.
Mom!
Lily was surprised, but when Kuraki went to talk to her, Mimi's face turned tense and she looked down.
I guess she got nervous.
Then the ceremony ended without incident, and the reception was held. Lily, Kuraki, and their uncle and aunt all looked happy. I just couldn't help but wonder about Mimi, who had stopped speaking a word.
Now let's ask Mimi about those two since you're always with them. Mimi, do they usually get along? Are you getting nervous? Okay. Where did you enjoy going with your new dad?
What's wrong with Mimi?
Maybe she's surprised about being asked so suddenly.
I ran to Mimi when I saw her like that. Mimi, isn't there something you want to tell your mom?
I'm scared.
Okay, I'll take care of it then. I borrowed the stuffed rabbit that Mimi had been holding onto all day, and then I took the microphone from the MC and pressed a button on the stuffed animal. Then the audio played back from the rabbit.
Mimi, don't come near me. I don't even want to see your face. I hate kids.
Then why do you have her with you?
It's all about the money. Her mother is the daughter of a rich family, so if we can get married, the money will come in. I don't want to be with this child, but if I think of her as money, I can put up with it a little better. The only person I love is you.
I see. Ryuji, you're so evil.
All I had to do to deceive her was to treat her nicely for a little bit. Marry her for a few months, then I'll leave her. Hey, you! Don't touch my stuff without permission.
Ouch!
Mimi, you don't want me to do awful things to your mother, do you? Then listen to me, okay? I don't even know whose kid you are, and I'm still playing the father, so my orders are absolute.
What? You don't even know whose kid this is? That's hilarious.
Yeah, Lily got tricked by a guy and had a baby. She really is stupid, and she's getting fooled by me now.
Oh my, poor woman.
What is that? What's that audio? What kind of prank is this? That's not me.
Oh, what do you mean? But this voice, it's you.
Gee, this is crazy. Lily, how could it be me? Who do you believe, me or Aki?
We'll find out if you're lying or not when we look into it.
Whenever Mom wasn't around, it was always like this. He always takes me to some woman's house where it smells of alcohol and cigarettes. They always say bad things about me.
The next moment, the sound of Lily slapping Kuraki echoed throughout the hall. I can't believe it! I can forgive you for cheating on me and talking bad about me, but I can never forgive you for hurting Mimi. You better brace yourself. I'm going to make you regret it. Lily, who's usually calm, snapped at Kuraki with such force that he nearly jumped out of his skin.
Hey, what's going on? Is that true?
Oh my god, I am so sorry.
I can't believe you hurt my daughter and granddaughter. Don't ever show your face in front of my daughter again.
And the woman who was mixed in among the invited guests were seized by the relatives after Lily's confession. Kuraki kept quiet until the end, but the woman spoke on everything, so the evidence for fraud was gathered. Lily's mother called the police, and Kuraki and the woman were taken away on suspicion of marriage fraud. The couple later on went behind bars together, and Kuraki's parents paid all the expenses incurred for the wedding and various fees. Kuraki was a scumbag, but I'm glad his parents were decent people.
I can't believe this happened. I must have been hurting Lily too, leaving such an adorable granddaughter alone. Why don't you come to live with us from now on?
Mimi, why don't you come live with Grandma? I want to spend time with you and Mimi.
Mom told me about Grandma and Grandpa. I always wish I could live with you guys. Yay!
Are you sure? I'm such a failed daughter.
You're not a failure. It's great that you're raising her well, and I'm sorry I pushed you away. I've been worried about you.
After this wedding, Lily and Mimi spent time at her parents' house with her grandfather and grandmother. One day, I was invited to Lily's house. Mimi was playing happily with her grandmother, and both Lily and I smiled naturally. I'm so happy we're able to smile like this. But still, that recording functions amazes me. Aki, I'm in debt for all the help you've given me. Right. I was so surprised when I read the manual after I gave it to her. On the day of the wedding, Mimi was acting weird. So I took a chance and it worked. I was surprised myself. I didn't give it to her for the recording purposes, but still, modern technology is incredible. I can't believe it starts recording by holding it tightly. We were able to record the evidence thanks to Mimi, and I am just glad that the two of them are happy together. My name is Eri. I married my husband, Shu, a year ago. Shu was cheerful and always took the lead on dates, so I felt safe when I was with him. On the other hand, I was shy and had a hard time expressing my thoughts to others, so I only think I was attracted to Shu because he had something I didn't have. I thought I would marry Shu and have a happy married life, but I was wrong. After a while of living together, Shu began to constantly complain about me, and I felt suffocated.
Why is your cooking so awful?
I'm sorry.
I work and earn money, and you can't even do the job of a housewife. I'd rather go out to eat than eat such bad food.
And on another day...
You can't even clean properly.
What? But I cleaned today.
See all that dust piled up? Are your eyes blind?
I'm sorry.
You can't even do the housework properly. What a mistake getting married to you.
It was a daily occurrence to be cussed like that. But I thought there was something wrong with me which made Shu, who was always so kind, angry, and I desperately wanted him to go back to how he used to be. Even if I argued, the abusive words just came back stronger. So I couldn't say anything back and just obeyed Shu. Then one day, my father passed away. He was a very kind and dependable father. I was suppressing my grief and making preparations for the funeral. When Shu came back, I told him that I wanted him to attend the ceremony, but I couldn't believe what I heard.
Why should I go? I can't go to the funeral because I'm busy with work right now.
But the company has a bereavement policy, doesn't it? When your mother passed away, I used to take a leave of absence from work too, didn't I?
This is a critical time. I can't take a break. I don't have time for funerals.
Please, it's a family tragedy. Ask the company. I beg you. My husband seemed a little surprised since I usually don't insist strongly.
Fine, all right. Just have to take the day off, right?
Yes, thank you. Shu took the day off from work, even though it seemed like a hassle for him. But when Shu attended the funeral, his attitude was even worse. On the day of the funeral, Shu was hungover, wobbling on his feet and reeked of alcohol. Shu, why did you drink that much last night?
Shut up. I'm here so it's fine, isn't it? Stop nagging.
He even complained to the staff at the funeral hall.
Hey, the air conditioning is bad. Make it warmer. So inconsiderate.
After that, he went to sleep as he snored, and when the funeral was over, he quickly went home alone. And I felt my relatives whispering to each other, looking at me. My brother and my sister were very concerned after they saw Shu's behavior.
Eri, isn't Shu's attitude terrible? You also seem to be somewhat reserved towards Shu. I'm worried about you. Are you okay?
Sis, you know if you have any problems you can always tell me. Shu's a little crazy. Yeah, thanks. After hearing my brother and sister's kind words, tears welled up in my eyes and I felt sorry for worrying them. When I got home, Shu was relaxing again, drinking and watching TV. Shu, how can you behave like that at a funeral?
What are you talking about? I took time off work to go to your funeral. Why do I have to hear you complain when I'm the one who's supposed to be thanked?
No, it was my last goodbye to my father. Shu ignores me and watches TV and laughs like he's done talking about it. Enough! And give me back the watch my father gave me as a memento. You won't use it anymore. My father wanted you to have it, but I don't want you to have it. So, give it back.
Huh? Oh, I sold that.
What? What did you just say?
I mean, even though it's a memento, it's an old watch, and I didn't even like it. So what's the point in keeping it? I went to the pawn shop in front of the station and cashed it in.
Pawn shop? For cash? I can't believe it! I couldn't believe my ears. I can't believe he would do such a terrible thing to me. I was so angry I could feel my feelings for Shu going down.
It's a gift. What I do with it is up to me, isn't it?
How can you say that? It's my father's memento. Selling it without asking me is insane.
Don't be so angry. Let's get some good food with the money I got.
At that moment, my anger peaked to the max. And then I hit the desk as hard as I could, and Shu was startled. You've got to be kidding me! What the hell were you doing? Which pawn shop did you sell it to, huh?
What? The one in front of the station.
I'm asking the name. Hurry up and tell me.
Don't yell at me like that. It was called Oriental.
Oriental, huh? Alright. Speaking of which, you're quite the awful abusive husband. I was fooled by you. I've been doing the housework for you every day, and all you do is complain. And you sold my father's memento? You piece of shit! I don't want to see your face anymore. I'm divorcing you. I said that and went straight to the pawn shop in front of the station to get back my father's memento. I felt better because I was able to say everything that was bottled up in my heart about my marriage, and I wondered why I had been brainwashed by such a man. When I got all of my belongings and left the house, he probably thought I would come home sooner or later. My husband, who was underestimating me, kept calling over and over again, begging me to stay when he found out that I was not going to change my mind about the divorce.
Ari, my bad. I had no idea you were that stressed.
You didn't think I was stressed? How can I not be stressed after being verbally abused by you every day? You're an idiot! I married an abusive husband like you, and it was a big mistake.
No, Ari. I can't do this without you, please.
After I got fed up, I hung up the phone. Even after that, the text messages never stopped, and my intention to divorce never changed. Since my husband has a big ego, he couldn't stand the rumors in the company that he was divorced and his wife had run away from him. My in-laws contacted me to say that he had a mental breakdown and became a recluse. They repeatedly apologized and asked me to reconsider the divorce. After I explained to them about my ex-husband and his many abusive comments and told them that I've learned my lesson about living with a harasser, they seemed to have given up on the idea. And my husband? He kept refusing the divorce, and after so much wrangling, he ended up signing the divorce papers when I told him I would bring this to court. Of course, I received alimony and other compensation for the harassment, and I was free. I told my mother, brother, and sister, who had been worried about me since I decided to get a divorce. But they seemed deeply relieved. My family has supported me in so many ways since the divorce, and I can't thank them enough. My family says I'm much brighter and more energetic than I was when I was married. I'm now looking for a job so I can get back on my feet as soon as possible. From now on, I want to be free to live my life as I see fit. The incident happened on my way home from the hospital. I picked up my medication at the prescription pharmacy and then went outside. Then, a woman who was a short distance away came pedaling toward me on a bicycle, and at a very fast speed. Oh no, I'm gonna get hit. As that went through my mind, the woman snatched the bag of pills I was holding in my hand. I was so startled by the suddenness of that event that I stood there stunned. The culprit was a mother with a child on the back of her bicycle who looked about 5 years old. I didn't bother to chase them down to get it back because it wasn't like they stole my valuables. Why would she steal medicine? I thought that as I watched the thief of a mom leave. The boy on the bike was wearing a mask, so I wondered if she was going to give it to him for his cold. Oh, wait! That... I quickly shouted, but the mom disappeared in a flash. Oh no, those pills! Yes, inside were antidepressants and sleeping pills. I was at home just a year ago, caring for my 78-year-old grandmother. My grandmother developed an illness that caused her muscles to become painfully stiff and gradually lose movement throughout her body, and the hospital told her she would not live much longer. My grandmother wanted to stay at home as long as possible until her body became immobile. I thought it would take some time, so although I was working in a caregiving field at that time, I took a leave of absence saying, "I'll take care of her." I was a certified nutritionist and was thought to be a master of nursing home meals, but in reality was not so sweet. My grandmother would wake me in the middle of the night when her muscles ached. "Oh, my legs hurt and I need a massage." So I'd massage where she told me to, but she lost the sense of feeling since her muscles were already hardened, and even when I was moving my hands properly, "Hurry up and massage it! Why are you just standing there?" she would get angry. I could tell she was frustrated because she couldn't move her body as much as she wanted to, and I knew she was anxious. But no matter how hard I tried to care for her, I can't wait to die. I don't want to live anymore. She would always say things like that in front of me, and the next thing I knew, I was in an ambulance after taking a lot of sleeping pills. I was diagnosed with depression and was hospitalized for 3 months in a psych ward. Subsequently, my grandmother died. Still haunted by the trauma of that time, I continued to take medication long after I was discharged from the hospital. And today, as usual, I went to the hospital to see the doctor and picked up my medication, but as I was leaving the pharmacy, they were stolen. The problem is that the bag was stolen only contained the medication. The form with the medication details were in that bag along with my medication book. I always wear a mask when I go to the hospital to protect myself from germs. So if they stole them thinking I had a cold with my mask on, I hope she wouldn't give it to her kid thinking they're cold medicines. The antidepressant I was taking at that time was highly effective, but was prone to side effects and could cause a dry mouth, lightheadedness, and a strong risk of cardiovascular effects. I was really worried because it would be dangerous if they actually took it, so I told the hospital and the pharmacy about it just in case. With the pharmacist,
I just hope they don't carelessly take it.
I was so stunned by this bizarre event that I forgot to go to the police and went home. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and go to the police!" My mother told me to, so I went to the nearest police station and reported the theft. The next day, the thief mom was arrested without a hitch. To the prescription pharmacy. "My son fell ill because of this pharmacy. Give me compensation." Apparently, a young mother came into the pharmacy and was screaming and making a lot of noise. The pharmacy asked for the mother for her name and the name of the medicine, and she said it was a cold remedy. But when she showed him what they actually were, the pharmacist immediately knew it. It was an antidepressant and a sleeping pill. The name of the medicine was also written in small letters on the back of the package, but the thief of a mom who thought it was a cold medicine gave it to her child without looking at the name. The name and the address were not registered as a patient, and since the pharmacy is near the clinic, the pharmacist usually recognizes the patient's face, but he had no recollection of the woman at all. The pharmacist thought of the worst and said,
We handle a lot of psychiatric drugs in particular. Taking them in the wrong dosage could be fatal.
He explained to her, and the mom started to get upset. No! If you're going to prescribe a drug like that, make sure you put the instructions on it. She began to rant.
It is our rule to tell you the contents of the instructions in front of you before we give you the medicine. So, there is no way we would give you the medicine without the instructions, or without enclosing them in the bag.
Although the pharmacist explained, I told you it wasn't in there. You forgot to put it in a bag, didn't you? But she wouldn't listen. My son just fainted and collapsed. What are you going to do? Isn't that what you call professional negligence or something? Just give me the damn alimony. She snapped and grabbed the pharmacist. The pharmacist asks the woman to calm down.
Calm down. Where is your child now? Is he in the hospital?
My mother's looking after him. It's too expensive to take him to the hospital. Hey, what did my son just get drugged with? Is he going to die? Yet she frantically yells at the pharmacist.
I don't know how much he took, but you need to take your child to the hospital first.
So the pharmacist desperately tried to convince her. But the thief mom started going crazy, parading around and asking for alimony and compensation money. And finally, murderer! You die instead! She was so violent that the police were called. When questioned by the police during a subsequent interrogation, the mom confessed. She had often snatched from elderly people at other pharmacies in the past because she didn't want to waste money on medicine. It usually had a medicine information sheet with the bag, so she would give her father a medicine for high blood pressure, and she would take Loxonin when she had a headache to save money on medicine. This is the first time I snatched at this pharmacy, and although there was no form on it that said anything about the medicine, I thought it was cold medicine and gave it to my child who had a slight cold. He immediately became limp and drowsy and didn't wake up. No matter how hard I tried to wake him up, he wouldn't, so I thought I could get some compensation and came here. Is what she said. The pharmacy and the police contacted me, and the medicine she gave her child were indeed mine. I was told that her son woke up safely after that, and he had taken 2 sleeping pills and was sleeping soundly. It was the only relief for me that the child was okay. At first, I wasn't sure until the last minute whether I should report the theft, because I thought the police would think it was just theft of medicine. But they had received reports from other people regarding the theft of medicine, so they readily accepted my report, assuming it was the same culprit.
Thanks to your report, they were arrested without incident.
And they were so glad that I have decided to report it. But even then, giving a child medicine, not knowing what it is terrifying. And the fact that she thought she could get alimony for something stolen is something else. I'm glad that the worst was over, but I can't help but feel sorry for the kid who was the biggest victim of this incident.
A childhood friend of mine was self-employed in a small town by the sea, running a rental warehouse shop, or rental storage space. The ocean there was a surfing mecca, and many surfers visited every day. The warehouse was open 24 hours a day. Each storage room is also equipped with lighting, so even late at night, the storage room is well lit and easy to load and unload. There's one power outlet, so you can charge your cell phone and other devices. And since users can freely use the water supply outside, it is the perfect place for surfers. Inside, you can leave your surfboard and all your gear. Visit in the summer before you go to work in the morning, and when you're done surfing, wash yourself off at the waterworks. Some people would change in their own warehouse, and it was quite busy. I don't surf, but I rented the smallest space in the warehouse, and I would leave my fishing gear there. Even though it's small, there's a 2 square meter space, so when I go fishing at night, I would pass the time making gear and reading books until it was time to go fishing. One late night, on my way back from a fishing trip, I walked over to the vending machine behind the warehouse to get something to drink. and I saw a couple of kids hanging out.
Wow, that's awesome! Seriously, it's so good!
And it was pretty rowdy. I wondered what they were doing, so I looked closely in the dim light and saw that they were tagging the walls of the warehouse. It was what you might call spray art or graffiti. And it was pretty bad if I leave them like this. I was afraid they would cover the entire wall. To seize the scene, I grabbed one of the kids from behind who was absorbed in the graffiti. "All right, that's enough," and shouted loudly. The startled kids all stopped at once and turned to me. Then they all dashed away, except for the kid I'd grabbed hold of. The kid who got caught.
Hey! Somebody help me!
And called out for help to his friends as they ran away. But not one turned back, and the kid was left behind. I called my friend, the storage owner, who lived nearby. "Come to the vending machine in the back right now." His kid was doing something bad, so I got hold of him and let him know. "I'll be right there. I'll take about 15 minutes, so keep hold of the kid." So I waited for him to come.
Old man, get your hands off me! It hurts!
If I let go of your hand, you'll run away. And I'm not an old man yet.
I won't run.
I don't trust you. He would try to run away at the drop of a hat while waiting for my friend to come over. So I put my arms around the kid the whole time, holding his wrists behind his back. 3 minutes later, the friend comes along. "What happened?" "The wall. Look." I shined the flashlight I was holding in my hand on the wall and showed it to my friend. "Huh? What is this? It's so bad!" My friend was angry. This kid was graffitiing with a couple of his friends, and I thrust the kid in front of my friend. "Hey, give me your phone."
What are you going to do?
"Just give it to me," he growls. The kid reluctantly pulls his cell phone out the back pocket of his pants after being confronted. My friend immediately took the phone and called the kid's house. And then the kid's father picked up the phone. "Please come to the Tanabata rental warehouse near the beach right now. We need to talk to you about what your son has done." My son? I mean, what time do you think it is?" "It's 1 a.m. Is there a problem?" "What do you mean? What do you want this late at night? You have no common sense." "It's your son who has no common sense. Anyway, your son has done something terrible to our warehouse, so please come as soon as you can." "I don't know what he did, but can't we do this tomorrow?" "Okay. We were not going to call the police if we could talk to the parents first and settle this. But, well, if that's the case, I'll have the police come and take care of it." "What? The police? Ugh, I understand. I'll be right there." After a while, since the father was knocked awake in the middle of the night, he drove up with a sulky face. "Yes, I'm here. Why did you have me come here this late at night? What did my son do?" "Well, take a look at this." And I shine my flashlight on the graffiti again. The father looks at the graffiti and, "What? You called me up in the middle of the night for this?" He was stunned. "What? Graffitiing on a wall in someone's house isn't a big deal. I mean, all we have to do is repaint that, right? Okay, I'll pay for the paint at least." The friend, annoyed by the father's reticent attitude. "You'll pay for it? Only painting this part would change the texture and color, so I'll have you paint the whole thing." "I'm relieved to hear that you'll pay for it," he said. "But paint the whole thing? Isn't that a little too much?" And the father suddenly starts to panic. "Our paint is special. Originally, it was just a warehouse that was converted and built without any insulation, so we use a special paint that reduces the rise in temperature on the surface of the walls. It's pretty expensive. And the whole place is tanned, so a fresh coat of paint on a part of the wall would make it stand out, so we would need you to repaint the whole wall." And speaking of repainting the whole thing, the warehouse is a monstrosity, about 1,000 square meters in size. And since it's a special paint, the estimate alone would cost several million yen at least. Then the father suddenly turned pale and, "Why did you do this?" began to question his son. And then the son, in a whisper,
I thought it would be cool.
Hearing that, the father startled and, "Yes,
If you look closely, this graffiti fits the atmosphere of this warehouse so well. It only looks like a scribble if you look at it that way. But if you think of it as art, it's cool, don't you think?
He said. No, that's too much of a stretch. It was obvious that he was trying to avoid having to repaint the whole thing. And then the friend. You're right. It's starting to look cool the more I look at it. He started to agree with the father. Huh? I was surprised, and so was the kid and his father.
Right, isn't it?
And just as the father was relieved, my friend quickly.
Then draw this cool thing over there, too.
He pointed to a brand new car that the father came in.
What? On the car? But I just got that car and... You looked at the graffiti and said it was cool, didn't you? I did, but I don't think that car and this drawing would go together. That's fine, if you paint it and think it doesn't look good, you can just paint over it.
The father could not say anything and fell silent. And then my friend followed up.
If you're going to draw it all over, so it can be seen from all directions. It's either that, or I call the police. Which do you prefer?
And he pressed the father. In the end, he chose the police, so they were summoned. And the kid was taken home by a police car. After that, the faces of all the kids who had been graffitiing with him were revealed. And they were all severely scolded by the police. On top of that, the school found out and suspended their attendance. The warehouse was repaired at a fixed price by a contractor, and my friend painted it himself with home improvement paint. My hometown is in the countryside, and there were a lot of people who had fields, and they each grew something. So my grandfather and grandmother lived in my neighborhood, but unfortunately that summer, they hurt their back and couldn't work the fields. That's why there were quite a few weeds in my grandfather's field, and my father and mother said we'd have to spray herbicides.
I don't want to spray herbicides just because I want to farm again.
He mowed the grass in the hot weather despite his bad back. Mowing the grass under the blazing sun. My brother and I, who couldn't stand to see my grandfather doing it with a sore back, decided to help him mow the grass on our days off from school so he could take a good rest. Our family had received a large amount of vegetables and fruits from my grandfather's harvest when he was working in the fields, so we decided to help him as a way to thank him. And it wasn't hard work, because I used the mower I borrowed from my grandfather. But since the land was large, I couldn't do it all at once on a midsummer's day, so I had to mow the grass in several days. One day, on Saturday evening, I went out to mow the grass as usual, when the sun was about to go down. My brother and I saw a delinquent's car parked in the grass, the flashiest one I had ever seen. There was no one in the vicinity and the engine was off, so I assumed it was parked. At any rate, I just mowed the grass near the car. To my grandfather after mowing, "Is someone coming?"
No, why?
Not that it really matters, but I saw a car I'd never seen before parked by my grandfather's field. I just wondered if anyone was coming. Well, it was the countryside after all, and things like this would happen. The next day, me and my brother resumed mowing the grass again. The car was gone. And there was a lot of trash around where the car was parked. Empty beer cans, empty containers after eating lunch, and even used condoms. I told my brother to bring a garbage bag, and we started collecting garbage before mowing. And then we found a lot of the same kind of trash from the areas we hadn't mowed yet. We collected the trash and found 2 big trash bags worth of trash. My brother and I then started watching the fields closely. One evening, I heard the slight sound of an engine entering the property nearby. My brother and I rushed over to see the flashy delinquent car we had seen earlier, parked right there, and a delinquent man and woman came out from inside.
This is what I like about the countryside. The large parking lot is free too, and I don't have to pay for a hotel room either.
Seriously, and no matter how much garbage we throw away, they clean it up. It's like a 4-dimensional pocket.
Right, if we bring our garbage here, it might all disappear.
That's good. Then we wouldn't have to pay for throwing out garbage.
We're so smart.
While saying these things, they probably went to a convenience store nearby, arm in arm and kissing each other. While they were out drinking, I put a message on their windshield wiper with a warning, "No unauthorized parking." When I went to the field the next morning, there was a lot of garbage, and the warning paper I had put up last night crumpled up, and the car was gone. My brother and I worked hard to clean up the trash, but the messages were ignored, and the trash was left unattended. My anger was growing. I knew I had to say something to let it out, so I waited for the right opportunity to do so, thinking they would be back to do the same thing again. As soon as I heard the sound of that engine, I went towards the car and talked to the delinquents who came out. I would like you to stop parking here without permission. This is my grandfather's land, and you keep leaving your trash here, don't you? Don't dump your garbage on people's land without permission.
Grandfather means it's not yours, right? Then you don't have the right.
It's the same thing because he's my relative. Besides, my grandfather has a bad back now, so my brother and I are in charge of the farm.
I'm counting on you.
Huh? I don't know anything about that. We're the ones who want to complain in the first place. You guys didn't get rid of the weeds fast enough, and now Tano's car is scratched up. I want to file a claim for damages.
What are you talking about when you're the one parking on someone's property without permission?
You're so annoying. You just need to get out of here. You're really getting on my nerves.
That's right. Kids like you need to get out of here. And there's no proof we're the ones who dumped the trash, right? Someone else must have dumped it. Of course it's you. Huh? I don't care. The delinquent couple didn't listen to me at all, but rather shouted back at me. I was so angry I went home and told my brother what happened. Then my brother, who's cunning, "Well, it is what it is, bro. We just have to do what we have to do." And smiled. And the next weekend, my brother, "Let's concentrate on mowing today." That's right, the whole thing. And he mowed the grass from early in the morning. Thanks to that, the place was cleaned up. There's a lot of grass, but they said the wind is going to get stronger later on, so let's dig a hole and bury it. And my brother grins. Then I realized what my brother was trying to say. I think that's a good idea. We should also remove the large stones and pebbles and bury them together. And we both cleaned it up nicely. And that night, my brother and I heard the sound of an engine and ran over. The delinquent couple happily parked on the clean lot. They were already dumping trash, so we took evidence. At that moment, there was a big sound of something falling. Unaware of the hole we had dug, the rear of the vehicle body completely fell into the hole as they backed up and couldn't get out. Then I heard their voices in a panic.
Hey, what was that sound?
I don't know. I can't move.
Aren't we in trouble? Do something about it.
I'm trying. We heard them yelling and screaming in a panic, and my brother and I looked at each other and giggled, trying to keep our voices down. They tried to get out of the car with full throttle, but the dirt, pebbles, and grass that we used to weigh them down got caught up in it. The pebbles flew all over the delinquent's proud car, scratching it, and the engine was making so much noise, the neighbors came over to see what was going on. And everyone,
You're disturbing the neighbors this late at night.
"What, you're stuck in a hole? Then hurry up and get your car out and go home."
This is what happens when you park your car on someone's property.
After being yelled at, the delinquent couple was completely bummed out. Even after getting yelled at, the delinquent couple still brazenly asked the neighbors to help them get their car out of the hole. But you got what you deserved, huh? They were dismissed. Since this was such a rural area, many of our neighbors know each other. My grandfather liked to grow things on his farm, but he also liked to give them away to his neighbors. So it was only natural that everyone didn't like these guys who were parking around my grandfather's farm without permission.
Here you go.
Oh my.
Hey, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna look for road service online. I watched with my brother for a while, and they had a tow truck pull them out of the hole. The road service man. "How did you even get stuck like that?" And laughed at him. "Do you want to pay cash, or do you want to pay by credit card at a later date?"
Damn it, how much is this gonna cost?
The boyfriend grumbles. "It depends on the distance, but I think it's somewhere in the tens of thousands."
Huh? Are you kidding me? Why is this so expensive? It's just a car.
Even if you say that, the delinquent couple looked at each other with pale faces, checking each other's wallets. My brother and I, who'd been lurking in the shadows all along, watching the whole thing unfold. They could have stayed in a fancy hotel for a few grand. That's an expensive parking bill. We laughed hysterically. They were arguing about the towing fee, but it wasn't the towing that cost them a lot of money. It was the car. They were driving a nice car, but the gravel and stones had done a lot of damage to the body. The paint seemed to have peeled off, so I'm secretly gloating that if they get it repaired properly, the bill will be in the triple digits. It's been about a month since then, and the delinquent couple never showed up again. The fields are clean, my grandfather is happy, and I'm really happy.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. What did you think of today's episode? Leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on today's story. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe.